Ladies and gentlemen, the master of spreading himself out too thin, PokePrimer. What's up, YouTube? PokePrimer here, primed and ready to deliver you a draft recap for the PFL Major League. Now, I know what you're thinking. We are already in the PFL Minor League, right? Right, you're right. Well, since we were at the top of that, first of all, since we're still number one in the rankings in the PFL Minors, they needed a replacement for a coach in the PFL Majors. Somebody dropped out, and they needed someone to take his team and run with it. Well, that's what I did. I was given any number of swaps that I wanted, and I was able to just have creative control over the team and do what I needed to do with it. So that's exactly what I did. And this is what it ended up being. We are referred to as the Crescentric Crescelias, but I'm probably going to ask and see if I can transfer my name over to being the Pyrite Piloswines again. Maybe, but I think that's our minor league team. I think we're just going to go with the Crescentric Crescelias, whatever. That's whatever Crescentric's supposed to mean. But the first mon that the former coach had chosen that I actually was really, really excited to have was Manaphy. Manaphy is one of our Tier 1 mons. Manaphy is really, really awesome because it is one of those base 100 mons, so it can be defensive, it can be offensive in either way, it can do pretty much whatever I want it to do, essentially. Plus, it is one of the most dangerous setup sweepers in the game. With the Tail Glow. Tail Glow is huge because it raises its special attack to +3, and that's kind of wild because once it gets to +3, it's pretty much one-shotting everything. It's coverage-wise, it's not all that great. I mean, it's got Ice Beam, it's got Surf, Scald, Shadow Ball, Signal Beam, stuff like that. Does get the hidden powers, obviously. It gets Grass Knot, Energy Ball, Dazzling Gleam stuff. You know, the basic stuff. It also does have an okay physical move pool. Not a very good one. It's like very, very minimal, but it has a physical move pool, so some physical moves could be thrown in there sometime. And, you know, it does have Cleric potential. It does have the Heal Bell, which is cool. So it has some clerical potential. And it's got bulk. It's got plenty of bulk. So, this thing's really cool. Its ability hydration, too. If I can get the rain up, before trying to set up with this thing, you can't paralyze me. They can't, you know, put me on a timer and slow me down because the hydration will just eliminate those statuses. Which is really, really cool. So, really, really happy to have Manaphy. Now, normally I would give this thing a nickname, but since we play mainly on DS, the only Manaphy's I have are either one that's just named Manaphy that I got from an event, or I think it's like a Korean one that I got from an event. So it's I can't really nickname those. I mean, if I had you know genning capabilities, I have more genning capabilities outside of power saves, I would be able to nickname it. But I kind of can't. So we're not going to do that. But we have Manaphy here, and that's going to be our first Tier 1 Pokemon. Next up, we have our Mega, and I'm really, 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 really excited about our Mega. We have Mega Gardevoir. Now, I've always wanted to use Mega Gardevoir in the League format. I've always been intrigued by Mega Gardevoir in the League format. It's really, really good. It's got that base 100 speed, so it gets on par with those base 100s. Its physical defense is kind of poor, but that's okay. Its HP is kind of poor, but that's also okay. It has a slightly better physical attack, so it could be useful for something if I need it to be, which is kind of cool. The monster's special attack, though, the monster special attack and insane special defense is really, really great. I'm really, really happy about that. Overall, Mega Gardevoir is insane. Absolutely insane, because it can just come in and click Hyper Voice, and like 95% of the time, there's no switch-ins. There's no real switch-ins to the Hyper Voice, because the Pixelate Hyper Voice is just going to tear through, absolutely tear through a team. by itself. So that's really awesome to have. Yeah, I'm really, really excited to have Mega Gardevoir. It has a lot of potential. You guys already know what our Gardevoir nickname is, and it's going to transfer over here. We have 3 pretty, 5U. That's just how, that's who she is, man. She's 3 pretty, 5U, man. You just can't handle her. You just cannot handle, you cannot handle her. She's way too much for you guys. I'm sorry. You can't handle Mega Gardevoir. Way too pretty for you. Sorry. Sorry, guys. But yeah, so that's gonna be that's Mega Gardevoir for you. Next up, we have another Tier 1 Pokemon. I believe this was picked up with one of the free picks, which is kind of cool. We have Scizor. Scizor is a fantastic Pokemon in the League format. It has so much variability. It does get access to Defog, which is awesome. Defog is huge. It gets access. It's got the ability Technician, which is really, really great. Because he gets a bunch of good moves that could be used with that Technician, such as Aerial Ace, Bullet Punch, Bug Bite. Just overall, a lot of Technician moves that could be used to cause a lot of damage to an opponent's team, and really, really tear through a lot of our opponents. So there's definitely that. The priority on this thing's great. Overall, just Scizor is so good. Scizor is so good. I'm beyond excited to have Scizor on the squad. I have a very specific nickname for Scizor. It's not really for a specific reason or anything. It's just, I'm immature. I call my Scizors, my regular Scizors, Knitmaster. Because come on, look at these clamps. Look at these clamp hands. Tell me he can't just absolutely master anyone's nipples. Just absolutely dominate and take over those nipples. So that is going to be Scizor. Scizor is going to be on the squad, and I'm really excited. Next up, we have Jolteon. Now, originally in this spot, this was one of his Tier 3 picks. He had Porygon 2. And you guys know from past leagues and stuff like that, I don't like Eviolite Pokemon. I do not like Eviolite at all. I hate it. I hate using Eviolite Mons. It's just not, I don't know. I feel like a Mon that becomes a lot less useful just because its item gets knocked off is kind of pointless, Like, a Mon needs to be useful, item or not, Like, say Jolteon. Say I'm running, some weird set the one week. Say I'm running a Life Orb on Jolteon, okay? Say I'm running a Life Orb, standard set. And my Life Orb gets knocked off. Jolteon still has base 110 special attack and base 130 speed. This thing's still going to outspeed a lot of things and still do a lot of damage. So overall, Jolteon can still do things without having a Life Orb. It doesn't have as much damage output, but it's still useful. If an Eviolite Mon loses its Eviolite, its defenses drop drastically. And at that point, it's so much easier to kill and loses a lot of its viability. Now, for Jolteon here, you guys have seen me use Jolteon in Fella, and I do very, very well with it, so I hope I can do well with it here. The combination of Volt Absorb or Quick Feet is really, really good. Volt Absorb provides us the immunity to the electric types, and Quick Feet actually gives us the chance to throw a Flame Orb on this thing and scoop up some speed. Basically, it's a free choice. Basically, it's a free choice scarf on Jolteon, which is really cool. I mean, we have to take burn damage or something every turn, but that's not that huge of a deal, I think, in the long run. So that's great. Jolteon's a fantastic Pokemon, has so much versatility, and you guys already know, Boy, is back on the squad. Homeboy is here. Our next swap actually came in with the next mon. The old coach had drafted Breloom, and I really don't like Breloom in the league format. It's fairly slow. I mean, it does get the priority of Mach Punch, and it does get Technician to boost that Mach Punch. Technician Bullet Seed's pretty dangerous, and Rock Tomb is a good way to balance out that speed. But overall, not only does it have a 4x weakness, but it is just so slow. It's just so slow. I just couldn't see myself, honestly, messing around with it too much. So I decided to drop it and pick up one of the best tier 2 mons, I think, in my opinion, in Goodra. Goodra is one of the best mons, period, nowadays. Just because, A, it can be either physical or special. Either way, it can be very, very effective. Base 70's defense isn't that bad. You max out that defense, it can live a lot of hits. Base 80 speed isn't terrible. It's workable. It's still faster than Breloom, and it's workable. Base 150 special defense. This thing switches into special hits all day, every day, 365 days of the year. No problems. Sap Sipper is a potential ability. Grass type immunity. Hydration. Get some rain going. This could pair very nicely with Manaphy. A very bulky Goodra with hydration pairs nicely with Manaphy, and the fact that neither of them can then get status in the rain, which is great. And then Gooey if I'm running a physically bulky set to slow down those physical attackers that might be coming after me, which is really, really good because then I can revenge kill them immediately thereafter. So that's awesome. Lastly, we have just the move pool. This shit's crazy, man. Obviously, it gets the Dragon type stab, Draco Meteor and stuff, but it gets Earthquake, it gets Aqua Tail, Blizzard, Fire Blast, Fire Punch, Focus Blast, Hidden Power, Ice Beam, Power Whip, Rock Slide, Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave, Super Power, Thunder, Thunderbolt, Thunder Punch. This thing has so many different coverage moves that you can basically just build 4 moves and this thing is the poster child right now of 4-move syndrome because there's so many moves that are viable to run on Goodra in a lot of situations that you just can't fit all of them on there. So this thing is really, really fantastic. I love Goodra. I've put a lot of work in with Goodra in the past. You saw me use Goodra in MPBA Season 1, and it's back once again to dominate. Slurperino. Welcome back to the squad. Now, next up, I decided to keep the next Tier 3 pick because I really like it. I think it's cool. I think it has a lot of potential, and that is Nidoqueen. First of all, I like having ground-type stab. So Stab, Earth Power / Earthquake in this case is really, really awesome. This thing will literally never have Poison Point or Rivalry. You will always have Sheer Force because that Sheer Force boost on a lot of attacks is really, really great. You get the Sheer Force boost on things like Crunch, Blizzard, Ice Beam, Earth Power. So many moves get a boost from that Sheer Force, which is really, really awesome. Which allows Nidoqueen to not only hit very, very hard, but you can see base 87 defense, base 85 special defense, and base 90 HP. This thing is very, very bulky. This thing takes hits very, very well. It's not as fast. That's okay. It's meant to be bulky offensive, which is really, really cool and can fit well into my playstyle. So having a really bulky offensive Nidoqueen here is really, really cool. Nidoqueen has so much potential for the team, and I already know kind of what I want to name this thing. I had a couple thoughts in mind, but this thing's a big, powerful woman. She's a queen, so why not refer to her as Latifah? This is Queen Latifah right here. Queen Latifah is a goddess, a legend. So Queen Latifah is on the squad. Next up, we have another mon that I decided to keep, and I believe it was picked up with the old coach's free points, and that is Tornadus. Tornadus is a very, very interesting mon because I personally think it's the most slept-on mon of the Genie trio. It is the only pure flying type in the whole game. it and its other form, obviously Tornadus Therian, are the only pure flying type in the game. The cool part about it is it's got the same stats as Thundurus Incarnate. It's got the same stats. Base 111 speed, base 125 special attack, base 115 attack. Really, really good overall offensive stats. Not too much bulk, but that's okay. Cool thing about this thing is it's Prankster. Prankster is really, really good because we can get Prankster Agility going. We can have Prankster Tailwind, which is great. Taunt, which is huge. Toxic. Prankster substitutes for stalling things and such, which is really, really cool. If we want to run a really dickish Toxic Stall set, we can really fuck with people with that. Oh, that'd be so funny to do. I want to do that right now. I want to do that so bad. It does get access to Knockoff. It gets Hurricane, which is awesome. Sludge Wave, Sludge Bomb. Gets decent coverage. Gets U-Turn, which is good for momentum purposes. Big draw to this thing, too, with my team, is it does get Prankster Rain Dance as well. So it's another mon that can set up the rain and allow the rest of my team to benefit from it. So we have, a good way to get rain going and a couple mons to benefit from it. So that's really, really good for us. With the Tornadus I have in game, it wasn't mine. I had it sent to me from a friend, so I can't nickname it. But Tornadus is still going to be here. Tornadus is still here, and he's God. So enjoy having Tornadus on the squad. Next up is our Tier 4 Mon, which you guys already know I had to keep this guy as soon as I saw him on the squad. We have Jura the Regirock. I'm already putting the nickname in right now. Jura the Regirock, back from Fella. He came back. One Mon returned from NPBA, 2 Mons returned from Fella. It's beautiful times. Beautiful times. The returns are real. But Regirock is great. Sturdy is now a released ability, so that's also something that I can definitely look into using. I have already acquired myself a Sturdy Regirock, so that's something. Regirock is a great Pokemon because, A, it has base 100 attack, so this thing can hit really hard. It's got base 80 HP, so it's very bulky. It's got base 100 special defense, so it can take a special hit. It's got base 200 physical defense. That's kind of wild. That's really wild because this thing can take so many hits. It's scary. And you can't lower its stats either because it has access to Clear Body too. So there's that. So this thing is a very good Stealth Rock setter. One of 2 that we have on the squad. One of 3 actually that we have on the squad. You'll see the third one in a little bit. But it gets all the elemental punches. It gets access to obvious rock type stab moves. It can explode if it wants to. It gets access to a lot of status moves as well. Overall, you saw how well Jura worked for us as a wall and in just an overall destroyer of lives in Fella. So having Regirock back again is really, really cool. And I'm really, really excited to use it again. So Jura is back on the squad. Now, here comes our next swap. Since we had already swapped and grabbed Jolteon earlier on, I didn't want another electric type. And the former coach had his Tier 5 Mon as Rotom Frost. Well, I didn't like that. So I dropped it, and I realized I needed a fire type badly. I didn't have a fire type on the team at all. Well, I had Magmortar, but I didn't want to use Magmortar again because I'm already using it in the minor league. So I wanted to have something a little different. So I decided to give this guy a shot. He doesn't get a lot of Limelight, and a lot of people really shoot down these Mons, but I think they have the potential to be very good. We have Simisear. Simisear is very, very interesting because it does get Blaze, which is kind of cool. Blaze will always be the ability on it, by the way. But Simisear is really, really cool because if you look at its stats, first of all, it breaks the base 100 speed barrier. Base 101, which is great. I need that because, outspeeding the base 100s is really, really important a lot of times. It gets base 98 special attack and physical attack. So this thing can do either, which is awesome. It has a little bit of natural bulk, but overall this thing's a very, very powerful offensive threat. It gets access to a lot of fire-type coverage, obviously. It gets Focus Blast, Grass Knot for grass types. It gets Gunk Shot, which is something I didn't even know. It gets Knock Off. It gets Low Kick. It gets Power Up Punch. It gets Rock Slides, Shadow Claw, Super Power. There's so many good moves. Honestly, Simisear has a lot of potential, and I really plan to make Simisear realize that potential throughout the season. As for the nickname, I gotta go with Rafiki. This guy looks kind of like Rafiki. You know, he's got the powers. He's badass like Rafiki. So we're gonna call him Rafiki. So Rafiki the Simisear is in the house. The next mon that we had on the squad was Magmortar. But since I just scooped up Simisear, I didn't want Magmortar. So I looked at the team and I realized we didn't have a grass type. I wanted to clear out our Firewater Grass core because we already have a Fairy Dragon Steel core in Scizor, Goodra, and Mega Gardevoir. So, which is, by the way, an amazing Fairy Dragon Steel core in my opinion. But I wanted to make sure that we had a Firewater Grass core that if we needed it, you know, if there was a week that a Firewater Grass core looked viable, you know, we could bring it along. So I decided to scoop up Lilligant. Lilligant is very, very interesting to me because not a lot of people think about Lilligant. You know, it gets chlorophyll, which is cool. So if we ever have sun going, sun things happening, which I doubt because, you know, rainish mons. But Lilligant has potential. You know, it's got some natural bulk, base 75 defenses, base 70 HP. Got that base 110 special attack, which is kind of insane. And it's got base 90 speed. So it's not too slow, and it hits really hard. Now, the big saving grace for this thing is right here. Right here. Quiver Dance. Quiver Dance is crazy. +1 special attack, special defense, and speed. That's kind of nuts. Kind of wild. Lilligant is awesome. It gets recovery and synthesis. It gets access to Stun Spore, Sleep Powder, all those important things. It can toxic things. It can Petal Dance all over bitches. Get a Quiver Dance up and start firing Petal Dances, and you should be good to go. It gets access to Light Screen, so that's kind of nice. Leech Seed, Leaf Storm, Hidden Powers, Healing Wish, and Heal Bell, which is really, really kind of cool. So the thing has a little bit of clerical potential. This thing's just grass stab the mon, but it works, man. This thing does work when you need it to. As for Lilligant's nickname, I'm going to call this thing Iggy. Because it kind of looks like a little bit of an, you know, it could be an azalea flower. And, you know, it's pretty fancy. So, yeah, Iggy Azalea, the Iggy the Lilligant. Iggy the Azalea Lilligant thing, whatever. We're going to go with it. The last mon on our squad, I was sketchy about it first. It was his last free pick. And I was sketchy about it at first. But after really thinking about it, this thing has so much potential for the squad, it's not even funny. So we have Kecleon. Now, immediately I'm changing the ability because Protean is the only ability we're ever going to run on this thing. Because what's better than having Stab on every single attack that you use? Nothing. Nothing is better. Anyone tells you otherwise, they're wrong. And this thing's coverage, move pool, is bonkers. Aqua Tail, Brick Break, Drain Punch, Fire Punch. Gets Grass Knot, which is kind of cool. Ice Punch, Knockoff, Low Kick, Power Up Punch, Rock Slide, Shadow Sneak, Shadow Claw, Sucker Punch, Thunder Punch. This thing gets so much coverage, it's insane, and it has the ability to do a lot of damage really quickly. It might be very slow. It is very, very slow. But it's got base 60 HP, it's got base 70 defense, which is still kind of okay, but it's got base 120 Spit F, so this thing can switch into special hits for days. It's kind of insane. This thing also has the ability to set up Stealth Rocks. Who said that a Kecleon can throw rocks on the field? I didn't, but Game Freak did, so we're going to go with it. And with the base 90 attack and stab on every move, this thing hits very hard when it wants to, and has a lot of potential to tear through a team if they don't prepare appropriately to handle Kecleon. Kecleon is like, I feel like Kecleon is like going to be the sleeper mon of our team. You know, the one that ends up putting in the most work for no reason. As for the nickname, I already came up with an interesting, a funny one. It's going to be called Camo Blammo, because he's going to be sneaking around and pop out of nowhere and blam, knock your ass out. Boom. Camo Blammo. And that is going to be the squad for the PFL Majors. If you guys have enjoyed this, please make sure to leave a like down below. I know it's faster than usual, but I have a lot of other recording I need to get done today. So I wanted to just kind of go over this really quickly and let you guys know what's going down. I actually have to get my first match done soon, so the prep for that begins. I'm a little bit behind, you know, the guy left in like late week 1, so I needed to come in and I still need to get my week 1 match done and then schedule my week 2 matchup. So that's gonna have to happen ASAP. So yeah, so that's the plan. If you guys have enjoyed, again, like and subscribe. And until next time, guys, I'm PokePrimer, signing off.